Welcome to our scams, the place where we share stories to help protect you from online tricks and fraud. Today, we have a heartbreaking story that highlights just how cruel scammers can be. It's about a grandmother who lost an astonishing $750,000 in a romance scam. Yes, you heard that right, $750,000 vanished from her life, all because of someone she trusted deeply. This isn't just about money. It's about heartbreak, loneliness, and betrayal that no one should ever have to face. Throughout this video, I'll take you through every step of what happened, how she met the scammer, the warning signs that were missed, and the devastating consequences that followed. This story is emotional and serious, but it's important to hear so we can learn and stay safe. Romance scams often prey on the vulnerable, and this case is a clear example of that. So, stick with me as we uncover the full story, and make sure to watch carefully. You might spot red flags that could save you or someone you love from the same fate. The woman at the center of this story is a kind-hearted grandmother in her late 70s. After losing her husband a few years ago, she found herself lonely and looking for companionship. Like many seniors today, she turned to the internet to find a connection, hoping to fill the quiet hours with some warmth and love. She joined a dating site specially designed for widows and widowers, a place meant to offer comfort but, unfortunately, sometimes attracts scammers looking for easy targets. This site was full of people searching for love, but behind the friendly profiles and sweet messages lurked danger. Our grandma was careful but hopeful. She never imagined that the man who messaged her would turn her life upside down. He called himself Frank, and from the very beginning he was charming and attentive. Frank sent messages filled with kindness and understanding, and he seemed to genuinely care about her. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen and valued again. Her loneliness made her vulnerable, but it also made the early connection with Frank feel like a lifeline. Little did she know, Frank was not who he claimed to be. His true intentions were hidden behind every sweet word. This was the beginning of a long and painful journey that would cost her not just money but peace of mind and family trust. In the beginning, Frank was everything she could have wished for. He messaged her every day, sending caring texts and calling her regularly. He remembered small details about her life, asked about her health, and made her laugh with jokes and stories. For our grandma, this constant attention was a bright spot in her otherwise quiet days. She started to look forward to their conversations, feeling hope and excitement about a future that suddenly seemed possible again. But even in these early stages, there were subtle red flags that her family noticed right away. Frank never wanted to meet in person or even video chat. His excuses were always believable: work problems, travel restrictions, or technical issues. Sometimes, his stories about why he couldn't visit felt vague or contradictory. Still, our grandma dismissed these worries. She believed in Frank's love and reassured her family that everything was fine. Her family tried to warn her gently, pointing out the odd behavior and encouraging her to be cautious. But she was caught up in the emotions, and the idea of losing Frank felt worse than any risk. She told her family not to interfere and assured them she could handle it. This denial would later prove costly. The trust she built with Frank was real to her, but it was a trap carefully designed by a skilled scammer. As the days passed, Frank's grip tightened, and the red flags that once seemed small would soon become impossible to ignore. After weeks of building trust and emotional connection, Frank's stories began to take a darker turn. He told Grandma he was stuck in Canada, caught up in customs issues after trying to cross the border with a large amount of cash. According to him, the money wasn't illegal, but customs officers were suspicious. He claimed that because of this, he was unable to travel and was being held up by a series of legal problems that seemed to grow worse by the day. Frank's story soon expanded. He said he had been arrested in California on related charges and was facing court dates, fines, and legal fees. Every few days he sent urgent messages asking for money to pay customs fines, bail, or legal fees. Each new crisis seemed more serious than the last. Grandma was shocked but wanted to help the man she trusted. She started by sending small amounts, believing she was rescuing him from trouble and keeping their relationship alive. As the requests grew, the tension rose. Frank described hospital visits, a heart attack, or being denied airline tickets that meant to pull at her heartstrings. Each plea was urgent and seemed believable. Grandma's hope to reunite with Frank kept her sending money, even when she worried it might be too much. The calls and texts became more frequent, and so did the financial demands. Family members grew more concerned as they watched her slowly drain her savings. But Grandma was convinced she was helping the man she loved. The suspense in this phase of the story is thick. Money disappears, crises multiply, but Grandma remains hopeful. The pattern is clear. Frank creates a new emergency, just as the last one is supposedly resolving, ensuring she feels trapped in a cycle of giving. Each message piles more pressure on her, and the red flags that family members see grow larger. But Grandma's heart blinds her to the truth. Despite the family's repeated warnings, Grandma's trust in Frank only grew stronger. Frank was a master of emotional manipulation, skillfully promising a future together filled with love, security, and happiness. His words were full of fake devotion, making Grandma feel cherished and needed. She believed that if she just helped him one more time, they could finally be together and start the life they dreamed of. Slowly but surely, Grandma began to make larger financial sacrifices. She withdrew money from her retirement accounts, including her IRA and Roth accounts, money she had saved for years to live comfortably in her later years. She maxed out multiple credit cards and even took out personal loans to meet Frank's demands. At one point, she used her car as collateral to secure yet another loan. Each time she hid these actions from her family, fearing they would take her phone or block her access to Frank. When her family confronted her, Grandma often lied, saying the money was lost through a banking scam or stolen from her account. She was ashamed and scared but didn't want to admit she had been tricked. The emotional grip Frank had on her was powerful, and the financial stakes kept rising. Frank's stories became more elaborate, and his fake promises more persuasive. The amounts climbed higher and higher, totaling over $500,000. The emotional and financial consequences became overwhelming. Family members pleaded with her to stop, but the damage was done. The scam had torn apart trust, drained savings, and left Grandma isolated. The suspense peaks here as the truth looms closer, but Grandma's love and hope keep her trapped in Frank's web. The devastating reality hit hard, as Grandma's bank accounts were completely emptied. The loans she had taken piled up quickly, adding immense pressure. On top of the money she had already sent to Frank, she now faced mounting debt with no clear way out. Even worse, her phone service was suddenly shut down. The phone company had received disputes over months of bills, likely from other scammers taking advantage of the chaos. This cut off one of the last lines of communication she had with the outside world, deepening her isolation. Without money for rent, Grandma faced the terrifying prospect of losing her home. Worse still, she could no longer afford her essential medicine, including insulin she needed daily to manage her health. The physical consequences were just as severe as the financial ones. Family members desperately tried to step in and provide help, offering money, advice, and emotional support, but Grandma often refused their assistance or lied about her situation. Ashamed of how far things had fallen, the emotional toll became painfully clear. Once vibrant and social, she withdrew from everyone around her. Loneliness and despair took hold, with her mental health declining rapidly. She was trapped in a cycle of shame and denial, unable to see a way out. Each day became a struggle against the consequences of the scam. Family and friends felt helpless watching her slip away. Torn between frustration and deep sadness, her isolation was not just physical but emotional too. The deep trust she had placed in Frank left her vulnerable to feelings of betrayal and heartbreak. The fallout was more than just money lost, it was a shattered sense of safety and belonging. The once warm and hopeful woman was now facing an uncertain future, weighed down by losses she never imagined possible. In response to the crisis, family members reached out to Adult Protective Services, hoping for intervention. This, however, angered Grandma, who felt betrayed by the very people trying to help her. She denied the full extent of the scam and refused to cooperate, further complicating efforts to protect her. Meanwhile, family disputes over a will added another layer of stress, making the situation even more difficult for everyone involved. Despite this turmoil, Grandma began to recognize the gravity of what had happened. She finally filed a police report against Frank, a painful but important step toward acknowledging the scam. However, the emotional damage was evident. In a deeply troubling moment, she texted a close family member expressing thoughts of suicide. This prompted an immediate crisis intervention, involving emergency responders who ensured her safety. Even with these serious efforts, Grandma continued to resist help. Her pride, fear, and confusion made it hard for her to accept support, and her isolation worsened. The family remains hopeful but worried, knowing the road to recovery will be long and difficult. Legal actions may provide some justice, but the emotional scars remain. The story serves as a stark reminder. Scams like this don't just steal money, they steal trust, security, and peace of mind. The family's response highlights the challenges victims face and the importance of support during these dark times. The family's pain and exhaustion are overwhelming. They carry a deep sense of guilt for not seeing the warning signs earlier or doing more to protect their loved one. They replay moments when red flags appeared but were dismissed or misunderstood. It's a harsh reminder of how easily even the closest family members can be deceived when emotions are involved. This heartbreaking experience shows the critical importance of listening to loved ones when they raise concerns. Often victims are embarrassed or in denial, making it harder for others to intervene. But taking those warnings seriously can make all the difference. Romance scams, especially those targeting vulnerable older adults, are particularly cruel. They exploit loneliness and hope, twisting genuine emotions into tools for manipulation. The emotional cost goes far beyond the stolen money. It's about trust, shattered self-worth, damaged, and relationships strained or broken. The family now understands that no amount of money can replace the emotional trauma and isolation caused by such scams. They hope their story serves as a lesson to others, urging vigilance and compassion. The scars from this experience will take time to heal, but they also inspire a stronger commitment to awareness and prevention. By sharing what happened, the family hopes to protect others from suffering the same fate. Awareness is the first step towards stopping these scams and supporting victims on their difficult journey. If you're forming new relationships online, always watch for red flags. Be wary if someone rushes intimacy or asks for money, especially when you haven't met them in person. Scammers often create urgent financial emergencies to pressure victims into sending funds. Dating sites aimed at widows or seniors can be especially risky. Scammers know these communities are vulnerable due to loneliness and loss. Take extra care verifying identities and avoid sharing personal or financial details early on. If you or someone you know is being targeted, seek help immediately. Report suspicious behavior to the dating platform and local authorities. Adult protective services and consumer protection agencies can also offer support. Remember, it's better to be cautious than to fall victim. Protect yourself and your loved ones by staying informed and asking questions when something feels off. Trust your instincts and never send money to someone you haven't met. Face dash to dash face dash. This tragic story shows how devastating romance scams can be, not just financially but emotionally. Victims and their families suffer deeply, often feeling alone and helpless. It's important to have empathy for anyone caught in these painful situations. We must all stay vigilant to protect ourselves and those we care about. Scammers use sophisticated tactics, but awareness and caution are powerful tools. Sharing stories like this raises awareness and helps build a community of support for victims. If you've experienced a scam or suspect someone you know is at risk, don't hesitate to reach out for help. You are not alone. Together we can fight back against these schemes and prevent others from being hurt. Thank you for listening. Please share your stories or advice in the comments below to help spread knowledge and hope. With greater awareness, where you can reduce the harm caused by scams and protect the vulnerable. Stay safe, stay informed, and keep your heart open but guarded.